Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Rossi, Chairman of the Aquifer Protection Agency for the town of Clinton. This is our regular quarterly meeting. I would like it's 6:46. I would like the clerk to please call the roll.
Michael Rossi,
Here.
Bo Clark,
Here.
Ellen Dahlgren,
Here.
Eddie Alberino,
Here.
Michael Florio,
Here.
Chinzia Lettieri, Jay Mandel, Zach Plord, Dylan Walter, Andrew Randy, Susan Marcus can't be here, and Brian Pellegrini can't be here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. And I don't have any alternate seats, so first item is review of the minutes from January 12th. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
You got the second, Eddie. The Zoom gives you a delay. You got
Okay.
the
I'll hush up.
second. Okay. Discussion? Any concerns? Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. Old business. We had, the deep municipal Aquifer Zach's here at 6:47. Okay, we had the deep municipal aquifer training last time. There is a link in the agenda to it if you haven't had an opportunity to do it yet. They say it's 8 hours. Bo says it's about 4. Eddie says it's about 8. There are 2 stars that have actually done it. I have been dreading it, but it's something we all should be doing.
I have a question about that.
Yeah.
It says I'm not able to do it. Like I went on to access, I screenshotted what it says, actually. I'm not sure if I need to be like enrolled in something or not.
So,
Yeah.
no,
Enroll, yeah.
yeah, so there's an enrollment process. Well, if you shoot us the screenshot and actually send it to Lori, because I'm out this week, but we can walk you through it again.
All right, cool, yeah, I'll do that then, thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you. Okay, that's old business. New business, update on Clinton's APA program and training opportunity. Go ahead, Debbie.
So Kathy and I had the opportunity, and so Kathy officially is your Aquifer agent. But I had an opportunity to join her and Melissa Feinstock, who's the deep Aquifer person, kind of manages all the municipal interfaces with the state, to do training, to help with compliance, to do all those kinds of things. So we took her, she had not been down to Clinton before, and so we took her on a tour of our sort of limited aquifer areas. And we went ahead and just made sure she had an overview and all that kind of stuff. She's provided us with, some of the stock training forms that for those who have taken the course, you may have seen some of the municipal resources, but she also offered to come and do a specific training for us as an agency, just if anybody wanted to go into more depth. I did borrow from some of her slides for the presentation that I gave at our last meeting. But if you want something more in depth, she's happy to come and do sort of a Clinton specific meeting with us and go through the program. We're in the process now of really trying to make sure that we've reached, done another outreach to all of our potential sites and all that kind of stuff, of which there are like 2. So we're not talking about huge numbers here. But so options, July, possibly October, we can ask her to come if folks are interested.
I'd be interested, it doesn't hurt to have a little bit more in-depth knowledge.
And Jay and just got here at 6:50. We're still at APA.
I'm happy to reach out to her and just say, yeah, we'd like to. Is there, one of the next upcoming meetings?
Yeah, I'd give her a choice.
Okay.
Okay, well, that's our update. Next item on the agenda for ABA is adjournment.
Eddie. We lost you, we can't hear you. You're muted.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining, motion carries. It is adjourned at 6:51. Okay. We can. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Rossi, Chairman of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to call our regular meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Michael Rossi,
Here.
Bo Clark,
Here.
Ellen Dahlgren. Here. Eddie Alberino,
Here.
Michael Florio,
Here.
Chinzia Lettieri,
Here.
Jay Mandel,
Here.
Zach Fluid,
Here.
Dylan Walter,
Here.
Andrew Randy. Susan Marcus can't be here and Brian Pellegrini cannot be here.
Okay, well, we have all of our regular members here tonight, so the alternates wouldn't get to be seated anyway, so it worked out nicely. I don't have any comments for tonight, so we'll skip to the minutes. Review and approval of the March 9th, 2026 meeting minutes. Were there any additions, corrections?
Believe it or not, I've got a couple
Oh, no.
comments. So in the first paragraph where Mr. Sweeney mentioned about the two-bedroom unit being used for a caretaker. I think that the minutes should reflect his statement, which is alluded to later on, but in the beginning it's not. So I think the minutes should reflect that. In the fourth paragraph under this section, the first sentence, it says B card required about CGS 8-2. And while I did put it in the form of a question, my point was that Mr. Sweeney had presented a statement, if you will, that there was no language in 830G that requires them to be of similar workmanship and size and so forth. And I put it in the form of a question, but I also made the statement that that language is in 82G. So I think that's important to have that in there. And the last comment, and maybe it's just a question for the rest of the commission, is at one point, Chinzia made a request, if you will, to Mr. Sweeney that, if they could possibly get more affordable units. And the reason I think that's important is if something happens in the future and, we have to deny an 830G, I think it's important to note that this commission has a record of being pro 830G, I should say, or certainly not anti 830G. And I think her comment being in the record is an opportune time to make that statement, if you will, should we ever need to fall back on it. I don't know, the rest of the commission.
I think that's appropriate.
I agree.
And those are all the comments that I have.
Just one thing, do you mean pro 830G or pro affordable housing?
Pro affordable house,
Okay.
yeah.
I think it's a strong clarification. Yeah.
Sounds appropriate to me.
Okay, any other discussion on the minutes? In that case, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
With the
With the incorporation.
Yes. with-
Second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Thank you. New business. Item, Planning and Zoning Commission 26-6. This is the site plan for the coffee shop pursuant to section 27.2.31 at 1 West Main Street. Just as a note, when the agenda first went out, this was not listed under old business as being ready as possibly being ready for a decision. But they have completed the paperwork they needed. So after our review of it under new business, it will be, it could be possibly looked at. So I would like to see if we could, I would like to request that we add the number right here. Item 7B, which would be Planning and Zoning Commission 26-6 site plan for coffee shop pursuant to section .2.31 of the Clinton Planning and Zoning Regulations at 1 West Main Street.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include that statement. Second.
Okay, thank
Second.
you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Standing, motion carries, thank you, so that's added. Okay, with that, the applicant is Joseph Campbell. Is there an agent or applicant here tonight?
Yes, I
Okay.
am there.
If you could stand up and state your name for the record, because we're recording this.
Okay, Joseph Campbell.
Okay. Can you just give us a thumbnail,
Sure, my wife is here, she's a Julie of Julie's Cup of Joe, and my daughter Morgan is here as well. We currently own a coffee shop in Westbrook, Connecticut, right on Route 1, Julie's Cup of Joe. We have been in business for 7.5 years. We have kept our eyes out for a good opportunity to expand. When this location came open, it seemed ideal to the model that we have. It's in a downtown area, a very walkable area. I love the fact that there's actually on-street parking off of the post office square, which is not very common in downtown Clinton. And so we're just ready to expand and bring our experience to Clinton.
Thank you. With that, we'll discuss it under old business, but right now we need to receive this. It is a site plan, so there is no public hearing necessary.
Okay.
So, thank you.
Yes, all right.
Oh,
Yeah, please.
Go ahead.
The paperwork that I went through identifies this as both 1 West Main and I think it was 4 Post Office Square.
I was told it's 6 Post Office Square. Yeah, Lily's Boutique just opened up. And that's, I think, 8 Post Office Square. I don't know if that's official address or not. When I tried to activate the electric, they wanted to know what unit it is. And I found out that I believe it's unit 3. I don't know because the gas company does not have us as unit 3. So I do have electric going. That's activated in our name. Gas I haven't done yet because I don't want them turning one of the meters on in my name if it's not our unit. Plus luckily it's not December and really, really cold. So that's I went with 6 Post Office Square because that's what I was told by the landlord.
So the location is known as both 1 West Main and 6.
Yeah, it's sort of like probably notified like a suite, because there's more than one unit in 1 West Main Street. So I don't know, how that gets differentiated officially. I don't know. So
Yep, so the 1 West Main is the underlying parcel, and so that's what we go on for the application purposes. The unit assignments and the actual street addresses are assigned by the assessor. So I can have her confirm whether or not 6 is in fact accurate or not. So we have to go back and look at it, and we can look at the old unit for folks at the office in the space before.
Okay. Yeah.
But for the record, it's the parcel itself is 1 West Main.
It's doorway between the cars and Lily's.
And Lily's, yeah.
yes, yep.
Do we need to be specific if we get to the point of approving this? Do we have to have that?
I think you can make the finding that this is specifically for the space that is in the unit that is in between those 2 pieces, and that would be fine, that's enough. It will get tagged to the correct location.
Thank you. That was a good one.
Yeah. Parcel mapping doesn't work it out.
So with that, I would like a motion to receive this application.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, any discussion, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining, motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is Planning and Zoning Commission 26-7. It's the text amendment for the stormwater management, section 36 of the Clinton zoning regulations. We are the applicant. However, we need to receive this and schedule it for public hearing on, May 11th, if possible. So there's no, since it's going to have a public hearing, there's nothing really more to say about it right now. So can I have a motion to receive and schedule for public hearing on May 11th?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to receive and schedule for a public hearing.
like,
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
aye,
Opposed? Abstaining, motion carries. Thank you. You guys are gonna like this. Item 5A, Planning and Zoning Commission 25-22, special exception for self-storage facility. Pursuant to section 12.46 of the Clinton zoning regulations. It was already continued to this month from last month, I believe, so we don't have a notice to read. And we have a request to continue it again.
We do.
So can I get a motion to continue this to next month?
So moved.
Sorry, Andy.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
aye,
Opposed? Abstaining, motion carries. Okay, item 6, staff reports. I don't think we need to worry about the special exception since
Not the public hearing, no.
there was no public hearing, yeah. So item B, Connecticut Municipal Development Authority update.
Yep, so I just wanted to give folks an idea of what is going, so we've talked about this before, but the town council had previously agreed to authorize the town manager to work through the paperwork and joining of the Connecticut Municipal Development Authority. And so this is something that has been ongoing. There is back and forth on the terms of an MOU actually it's an MOA, that will essentially solidify this relationship and enable the commission to get support services to determine potential zoning amendments and other pieces that may be in support of transit style development, and kind of align us with some resources that they have. It also unlocks potential funding for folks who are looking to develop in particular district areas. So David Corus from the CMDA would be potentially taking this to their May board meeting to sort of finalize our agreement, but I want to make sure along the way there are no surprises with this group, so that when you are asked to sort of work with folks, either in parallel or in partnership while we're doing our regulations update, assuming that the budget passes and we have those funds, we want to make sure that we're kind of in lockstep. Because part of this will affect the immediate sort of half-mile area around the train station. And so we want to make sure that we're going forward, understanding what we're sort of signing up for. So what I'm going to do here real quick is just share, if I can share button pushes somehow. He did move things around. Yes, it's really interesting. All right. Give me 2 seconds.
Are you the host?
I'm
Like that, I'm sure.
co-host, but it got a little silly. All right, there we go. So what I'm gonna do is share for you the. There it goes. So these 2 areas, so what we have here is the areas where our zoning regulations met currently the requirements for CMDA's inclusion in sort of this transit district that would be part of the area which they would seek to potentially provide funding and development support in. The 2 areas that you see is up in the upper left is the current boundary of the Toto. So those pieces qualified. And then you see on the bottom right, the East Main Village District within 1/2 mile of the train station. In the middle, we have our Route 1 corridor, which is arguably we would also want to see resources and other pieces aligned. However, because of the language that we have concerning residential development, multifamily development in those districts right now, they're not currently eligible. We would need to make some changes to those. We've talked about that through the P O C D, through potential regulation amendments and the need to sort of look at downtown and what that means. Also in the context of Public Act 25-1, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So arguably in the future, these central areas could be included. However, at this time, we would be coming into CMDA with these two areas first, and then work with them to sort of build things out. The memorandum of agreement for participation is something that will go to the town manager's office, but there is language in there that essentially says they can't push amendments onto the commission. They can't specify things that are at all inconsistent with the P O C D or with where the commission is has already outlined where you're going to be taking things. So I think it's important to understand that what you are signing up for needs to be consistent with what you've already said you want to do. That can't be sort of something that's happening separately. So the step here would be go through their board meeting, be signed up, have the memorandum signed, and then David would reach out to us, sort of talk about how we go through the process of selecting potential consultants and looking at zoning support as we go. That process should align with hopefully putting out requests for proposals for regulation amendments. And we can talk about how we structure that in a way that will get us either very closely coordinated services or services from the same consulting firm, depending on how you want to go with it. So we'll talk in more depth about the mechanisms for doing that. But I think it's, from our perspective, I think it's important just to stay organized between these two very, very similar conversations and make sure that we don't, that neither will have the opportunity to conflict with the other. So that's kind of what we're doing. So again, I just want to make sure, it's coming and that there's, when you're asked later on, there's no surprise that this process has been continuing since the town council agreed to participate.
Thank you. The status report on Public Act 25-1, I think we can wait till the committee reports.
Okay. Yep.
Bring it back then. Okay. The next item, we go to old business. 7A is Planning and Zoning Commission 25-22, which is a special exception. The public hearing is continued, so we don't have anything to do with that tonight. We move on to Planning and Zoning Commission 26-6, site plan for the coffee shop within 1 West Main Street. And we received this tonight. It is eligible for a decision tonight. What questions do people have amongst themselves, amongst the commission? What's the deliberation with the? This is basically a change of use. There's other than updating the signage, there's no external changes to the building or structure. Looks like parking is not an issue with it. So
What about the health department?
So the health department issues are not yet resolved. I was just connecting with Joe. So there's some discussion on how many seats the septic will handle. So one of the things that I tried to put in here was two things. In the draft motion, I tried to put in I think it was condition 3, interior seating would be limited to 20 seats, which is what the applicant applied for. However, the zoning enforcement officer could administratively approve modifications that would be in alignment with health so that it wouldn't have to come back if health reduce the overall number of seats the septic is capable of handling. The other piece of that would be, if that condition essentially would say that the, approval from CRAD is necessary in order for this to go forward.
And I'm assuming, do we have any information? I didn't see the update here. Do we have any information from the fire department?
So essentially, the fire marshal and fire chief and building official reviewed this, so they don't typically get fully involved until the layout is set at the end, so.
But they didn't have any outstanding.
Nothing outstanding, nothing required, other than they're gonna need, if there's any permits for work being done, that they'll have to do their normal walkthrough for the fire marshal and all that kind of stuff. So they have a whole process that they'll follow. Once this approval goes through, then they would pick in their piece. But they're aware that it's.
I do have a building permit for just a demo. There's like a couple walls that aren't load bearing. So we started with that process and then we're going to take those down and then make sure before we put in the permit to put the mechanical, plumbing and electrical, wanna make sure the vision that I have actually works. So when it's open, then we're gonna go ahead and this is where this is gonna go, and then we can order the equipment. And obviously we'll go through with the permits, all that stuff, so.
So, I guess the question is with the septics, of the septic being a concern, would the occupier then lower the seat, would Craig come back with a seat?
No, that's what, part of the motion is that we would basically give administrative rights to the CEO to lower the limit.
To lower the seating?
If
Consistent with CRAD.
yeah, consistent with
Okay,
that,
okay.
right?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? Which unit is it? Like if you're on Post Office Square, if you're on East Main and then that right, is it one of the buildings going down Post Office Square?
Down Post Office Square.
Next to Lily's,
It's between Nada and Lily's.
What do they used to be?
it's next to Lily's,
Okay,
it's like near the old, there's the old cricket house, Lily's, and then I believe
Yeah.
your space,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
It's attached to the one west
It's attached.
main over,
The brick.
the Taz is.
correct, and so what I would recommend as a fifth finding would be the use, the coffee house use is specifically approved for the first floor of the unit between the current Nada's Restaurant and Lily's Boutique. And the reason for that is that I do not have a separate designated unit number from the assessor for this space, and so,
Okay.
but that will make the record very clear as to exactly what you're approving, so it's only for that first floor use. There's no basement or second floor being proposed in association with the coffee house.
Okay. Would someone like
I'd
to,
like to make a motion.
okay,
I move to approve PZC 26-6 and issue a site plan approval to permit a coffee house use within the existing commercial storefront at 1 West Main Street with the following collective findings and condition. Findings: 1, the application as conditioned meets the site plan requirements in section 10 of the Clinton zoning regulations. 2, the applicant has demonstrated that adequate shared private off-site public parking is available for the proposed use. In addition, available public parking exists within 500 feet of the site, and regular public transit is available during commuting hours within 500 feet of the site. Therefore, parking requirements pursuant to section 33 of the Clinton zoning regulations have been met. 3, interior seating shall be limited to 20 seats. The zoning enforcement officer may administratively approve modifications to the number of permitted seats based on the Connecticut River Area Health District CRAD review. 4, the proposed use is consistent with Clinton's 2025 Plan of Conservation and Development. And 5, the coffee house use is for the first floor only between Nada's and Lily's. Right? Okay. Conditions: 1, approval of the wastewater system from the Connecticut River Area Health District CRAD is required prior to operation of the use.
do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Say-
Yeah,
Just got 3 dollars. Okay. Any,
the current location of the Taz restaurant and the current location of Lily's shop, just so that, you know, a change in either of those doesn't affect this approval.
You amend your,
Do we meet? Yes, I'd like to make an amendment to 5, to note that the coffee house is for the first floor use between the current location of Nada's and the current location of Lily's.
second,
I'll second
Second
it.
it.
got it. Okay. Any further discussion?
But the only thing I can say is this is exactly the type of thing we want to see in the center of Clinton to get that, you know, that draw to downtown and welcome to the town.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, with that, then all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries, unanimous, congratulations.
When do you plan to open?
We're hoping to be towards the end of May. Obviously, we got work to do, but there's not too much work to be done. But I agree with you. I think this will work very well. I think.
Beautiful,
So,
wonderful,
all right.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Welcome down.
Okay, item 8, committee report, the regulations committee, I unfortunately was not able to be at the meeting last week.
Neither was I.
Don't worry, not a lot of.
Dylan and I holding the fort down.
Keep doors.
We did an abbreviated session because everybody had places to be and right pretty soon after I started. So what I'm gonna do tonight, if it's okay with you folks, is I can kind of take you through a little bit of what we went through at that meeting, just to make sure folks are sort of on the same page about the status of regulation amendment support from Rivercog's consulting firm IMEG. And kind of give you a sense of where things are going. So what I'm going to do is pull up some of the slides that they provided to the planners. Michael has seen these and Chinty and Dylan have seen them as well. But I just want to make sure that folks are just kind of aware of the status of what we're doing and where some of these conversations are headed. So let's see, there it is. All right. Nice. All right. So I don't want to spend a huge amount of time on all of these. I think we're in.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff.
They had a lot of stuff to say. The short version of this is that IMEG is the consulting firm that is working on behalf of all of the towns in Rivercog to help everybody update their regulations by July 1 to be consistent with Public Act 2125. And the purpose of this is really is kind of twofold. One is we're trying to aim for some level of consistency between all of the towns, and also do this as quickly as we can. And to that end, what this project kind of hinges on is doing the minimum changes necessary in our regulations to be compliant with the new legislation as close to July 1 as we can. And I'll go through the timeline with you in a little bit because it is there are some moving pieces that bring us very, very close to that July 1 deadline and mean that we may need to talk about having a special meeting in June. So what we will do is go through, we're looking at compliance with specific sections of the act. One is to meet the requirement for transit community middle housing or mixed use development on any lot that's zoned for commercial or mixed use by summary review. So that means our current review processes for various, whether it's accessory apartments or multifamily housing between 2 and 9 units, we cannot use a special exception process. There is no public hearing permitted any longer for things that qualify under this definition. There is some discussion about whether or not we are required to do strictly residential housing, or whether this only applies to mixed use, and we can write the regulations either way. So there's the way in which the act is written, it uses the word or, right? So there's strictly residential or mixed use. And there is so there is an opportunity here for the commission to make a decision about which way you want to go with this. Do you want to include this middle housing by summary review, so sort of a site plan style review with only mixed use development, or do you want to include summary reviews in our commercial and mixed use districts for housing only? And it's important because, without mentioning specific properties, we do know that there are properties out there that folks may come in and want to strictly do residential. And there's a conversation about how we'd like to support the inclusion of this new language in here and whether, where do we want this to go? And so it's amazing. Yeah.
My concern is that the dictionary definition of what or means is essentially equivalent to and or. Okay, so what that puts you at is that I disagree with their interpretation, but I would love to go with their interpretation.
Yeah. So the town attorney has said that because this is so new and because of the construction of the legislation, she said the commission has the ability to make the distinction and choose. She was not recommending one way or another. It's really a policy decision on which way you want to go.
Okay, well, and I think if that's what our town attorney is saying, I would ask the commission to strongly consider following their guidance and doing four as we're gonna have it be the mixed
Mixed
use.
use, yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
That's
yeah.
what Dylan felt, right, Dylan?
Well, that's what we endorse in the. POD.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's very consistent
That's
for
been
us.
all along.
So that's great news that the town attorney is, uh.
And she did say this is evolving and we don't know where, ultimately, without any case law to support it, we don't know where this will go. It's, we're all sort of trying to figure out this language to the best of our ability and make sure that we're consistent with what is in the legislation. So
But
that's-
I think and this is something, cause I know when we were talking about, cause we were like, well, we gotta vote on this as soon as possible because of that July 1st deadline, cause then the floodgates kind of open up for people coming in.
Mhm.
So could we make that decision tonight to have that be the language or?
Well,
Whichever guidance you provide to me, I will bring back to the consultant.
they're gonna be writing things for us to do.
Inside our
Right.
regulations, okay.
Yep.
I didn't know if it needs to be like more formal or we can just,
Well, it would have to be more,
Really have more.
formal, but we couldn't just do it tonight, it would have to be notified in some way.
okay,
Right,
Yeah, so what
but
I
we can speed this to them.
okay.
Correct. And then I can say, as you're drafting something for us for the commission to consider, please use this assumption going forward.
Right,
Yeah, that's.
so we don't need a motion for it, we just
Okay.
need a consensus.
Yeah.
Do we wanna take a vote?
I think the nodding of heads kind of summarizes it.
Okay,
And then the other piece has to do with, I think we sort of talked about this when we were first starting to talk about the legislation. Was the parking districts that are potential here, so that essentially, if you've got less than 16 units under the new legislation, you are exempt from meeting the minimum parking standards you don't have to meet parking. We all sort of, or when I say we all, is sort of the planning community generally believes that the market will drive some of this stuff, and it's very unlikely that we will see a ton of developments with no parking in them and trying to sort of take advantage of parking that may exist, kind of in our commercial and mixed use areas. However, we do have the opportunity to consider adopting up to two sort of parking districts of the each essentially totaling 4% of our land area each, so 8% total, and they can be contiguous. And I'll pull up a map in a minute to show you where those are. But we have the opportunity to adopt districts that would require folks to meet our minimums. Our parking minimums already meet minimum state standards, so we're already in line there. So we don't have to change our actual requirements for, one parking space for every one bedroom and studio and two parking spaces for more. But it would give us the opportunity on these smaller developments to mandate parking instead of.
I think that's a good idea. I think we want to maintain as much control as possible.
Yeah.
And still be consistent with the act.
yeah, and the map, that you're gonna see,
Yeah.
it takes up pretty much,
Wherever we
roughly,
wanna have that.
and a little bit of baby one.
Yeah, it's essentially the Route 1 corridor up to the first properties adjacent to the Toto, because the 22 High Street that was and the demolition that was done in the corner isn't technically in the Toto yet, but it takes into that account and it goes down Commerce just a little bit, but it's the entire Route 1 corridor essentially, with the exception of the industrial districts as you head that toward the east end of town. However, industrial districts are not currently included in the act. And so we are operating under the presumption that there is no change that needs to be made to those districts because they are not included. There is discussion with the legislature now to talk about adding those industrial districts in. I don't know if that's going to go anywhere this session. So, yeah. And then I think, certainly we would not support trying to mix, significant residential in those districts unless we wanted to talk about rezoning. And thinking we would grow those spaces into something new.
Miss Abby, how would that Stevens Road, how would that go with, if Stevens Road gets developed? What are we gonna do about that? We're not gonna have any parking minimums for that remember what was talked about?
What would happen, and I'll, in a little bit, I'll pull up the map, but essentially, and we can talk about the north and south sort of swath of that, and if we need to make adjustments along the way, we can certainly do that with the team.
Yes, ma'am, because we talked about that before, remember?
Yep.
Stevens Road, that's That's a concern to me, but you know. But
Well, yeah,
I like the other things.
Okay. Alright. And what we're trying to do is sort of say, okay, this is, we're trying to make sure that we maintain some of that control over our parking pieces. I don't want to go through their entire presentation because we have kind of gone through some of the stuff before in the regulations committee and essentially talking about what what this looks like. But some of the things that they're reviewing for us, they are making sure that our design standards in section 30 are sections in the East Main Village District that talk about design standards are
Right.
strong enough to be able to be considered under summary review. We have a lot of standards, and I went through these kind of in the red lines that I provided to folks, where we talk about very sort of subjective terms, and we're trying to narrow those down. So if we want to have specific different setbacks, if we want specific landscaping requirements, if we want specific screening for trash enclosures, those types of things, we need to put them into our regulations under our standards now. It has been, so the interpretation of the legislation is that we certainly, as long as you have a clear standard, it's, within the East Main District, it's clear, but in the Village District. And all of our design standards are applicable, provided that you don't have to use discretionary judgment as to whether or not they've met it when they come into apply. So it's very important for us to just make sure we narrow those down. So they're going to be providing us with suggestions for those things based on our guidance. But if there are pieces that you think of those regulations and of the red lines that I had previously sent that you think are important to include here, now would be the time to look at those and just shoot me an email and make sure I know what they are. I don't want to miss anything. So again, we'll skip over some of this stuff, but what I wanted to do was go through the time frame here. So, or actually, what we're going to get from them, what we're not. What we will get from IMID, the consulting firm, is memos and sort of red lines of our regulations with suggested changes. Anything in terms of presentations or the public hearings, that kind of stuff, we will run ourselves. So they are not going to come to our meetings and present for us. They don't have to. There's simply not enough time in the day to get the consultants to all 17 towns that need these services as quickly as they do. So they'll give us the support and all the tools we need to sort of get it out to the public, but it will not be something that they present for us. They will create the traffic districts, which we'll kind of look at in just a minute. They'll go through one round of comments with us. So they'll give us a draft, we'll be able to comment, and then they will provide us with a final draft. If there's any other tweaks to the language we want after that, we're gonna have to go ahead and make them in consultation with the town attorney. We'll probably be able to run something by them if it's minor, but really they don't have a lot of time or ability to go back endlessly. So we're really gonna have to jump on these when we get them. And I wanted to give you the schedule piece because some of this stuff has already happened. So this first virtual meeting Michael and I attended, and that was to kind of go through what the assumptions were and make sure that we understood where they were headed. We should be seeing draft amendments soon. And so as soon as I have them in hand, they're going to go out to the entire commission, and the regulations committee, bless you, will continue to meet on them. We'll go back and we'll have that second virtual meeting sometime in May. And then essentially by the end of May, we will have a regulation in front of us that would be potentially adoptable. The wrench I want to throw in this is that because we are a coastal community, we have a deep requirement to go for a review by Fred Oliver, our deep analyst. And so that process can take some time. And the concern and the question that Rivercog has is whether or not DEEP will be able to complete its review in time for us to adopt ahead of the July 1 timeframe with the schedule that we have in place here. I think there is not a good feeling from our consultants, and I absolutely agree with them, that we will be able to hold a public hearing at the June meeting that is currently scheduled and be able to make it. Because if we're not going to get these amendments till the end of May, we will not make, number one, our advertising requirements, and we may not have that deep review. So one of the things I wanted to go through tonight was kind of what the appetite is if we were to email out some dates toward the end of June for a potential special meeting to see if we wanted to at least have something, if we could, adopted ahead of July 1, even if we're in the appeal period. We may have an opportunity there to at least have something on the books. But we will have a little bit of time where we are in this no man's land between the effective date of the legislation and when we're adopting, and we're not the only town. I will say Rivercog has been incredibly proactive in trying to move these conversations forward. There are other parts of the state where folks are just kind of getting their heads around this stuff. So it sounds like we're behind, we're actually farther ahead than many. So they provided fantastic, support services for us. But it is, we're gonna be cutting it very close. And I think July 1 is unlikely. And I don't wanna sugarcoat that, so.
Abby, is there a formal, extension that we can apply for?
No,
Okay.
Is anybody floating that idea to the legislature?
I will check in with Rivercog
Yeah.
and see, because there was some talk about looking at that deadline as part of this year's amendments.
Right.
And so I'll find out if that's something that I can
And
consider.
maybe we can strongly encourage through, as a town, or as a planning and zoning, so that, listen, we're doing everything that you're asking us to do, but in order to be where you want us to be, that July 1st deadline is just not possible for
Yeah.
all of these reasons.
Right.
I think we should write to the legislature and advocate for some sort of like maybe 1 month delay. That's a lot for every town, and
Or even a September 1.
or September 1, whatever.
Yeah, third quarter instead of the
Right.
second.
I mean, like you said, we seem to be ahead of the ball here.
And we're still
And
not
we're still
meeting
not
their
gonna make
their
it.
deadline. So I do think that while they're still in session,
Mhm.
that a strong letter from Clinton Planning and Zoning, and if I'm overstepping,
No,
Mike
you're not.
or
I,
Bo, let me know. But I do think there's power behind words, and to say, listen, we've done X, Y, and Z, we're working with IMED, we're doing all the things. And we know we're not the only town, and then possibly encourage everybody else of the 16 towns who's working with IMED to write to the legislature as well.
Yeah, and I'll also talk to Rivercog to see where they are in those conversations, because I know that there was some, and I haven't seen yet so there were sort of tweaks, because there was some ambiguity over like where the parking minimums come into play, and some of the fixes
Well-
that needed to be made in the legislation, so we can talk about whether this is
what
possible.
I would like then is to ask for a motion that would allow me to work with Abby after she's had those conversations to draft such a letter. Based on, and I would draft it in the name of the entire commission.
I'd like to make that motion.
Second,
Okay?
And now we're suggesting a date that you propose.
Well, that's a good point. We needed it, I would like it to see it be August 1st at the very least for us.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I would even.
Shoot
look
for
at
September and then settle for August.
The third quarter.
Yeah, I mean, and there may be other communities thinking later, depending on where they are. I think to make this ask, I think it would be reasonable to, only have a few months. And
Right.
essentially it's for the purpose of meeting the statutory notice provisions and all of the required reviews, under
Right.
state statute. So, yeah.
And we have that added layer because of deep, correct?
Right, so we have the coastal
And
component
that
of this.
wasn't really differentiated either, that there's going to be these coastal communities that are gonna have an extra added layer that we're gonna have to go through in order to make sure that we are being compliant, so, yeah, and if reaching out to the other 16 towns, I think would be.
Okay, so.
I would
let's
suggest
shoot
third
for
quarter,
September.
which is October 1st.
Okay,
It doesn't hurt to request it out further.
Sorry.
yeah, I mean, I think you're right, and then if it comes back a little bit, as long as.
Earlier than.
Mhm.
But then I think we should also make sure, if I'm in for a special meeting at the end of June, I think we should also just make, because we don't know if that's even gonna
Right.
happen.
I would be in agreement with the special meeting as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so the question, I've got the calendar up here is, would we be safer waiting for comments to come back on the 23rd, or, I'm sorry, the 22nd?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, for June 22nd to be our special meeting?
Mhm.
Would that be, more likely to have the deep comments by then?
We may. It really depends on when they are crafted and when they are sent. And so, the consulting firm has committed to May 31st to have final versions. If those are when the final versions go and they are sent to deep at that time, And there's, 35 days potentially to review. We're into July anyway. What we're trying to do is work closely with our deep, sort of colleagues and say, look, these are all substantially similar regulations between the towns. Can we sort of bulk look at them? We don't all have the same deep agents, and so, but there is conversation happening through RiverCog directly to deep and some of the administrative, higher up administrators to say, hey, can we move this forward faster?
I think we got a little bit ahead of ourselves
Yeah,
here.
we've got the motion.
Yeah, we had a motion, it was seconded.
Oh, sorry, about the letter, yes.
Yeah, to have Mike and Abby
Yes.
work together.
So is there any, we're gonna talk about October first, the new adjusted one. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Thank you. Now we can go on for the
Yeah.
meeting date. I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, I really would hate to wait until the 29th.
Mhm.
Yes, Fourth of July week, it's going to be.
Yeah,
We can tentatively schedule, if folks are holding it on their calendar, right? We don't schedule it as a special meeting until we know we're going to have it. But if folks can hold the 22nd on their calendars, that would be
That's fine.
helpful.
Works for me.
okay.
I'll be
We
asked.
need a motion to that effect or no?
No,
No, I think as long as everyone's aware of it and is holding it, I think, we won't plan anything else for that night.
What time?
But almost
It'll
7
be a
p.m.
regular meeting,
Okay.
so 7 o'clock. When doing the right now.
Everyone's good.
Little paper.
That what you're, June. June 2022.
Look at that.
And I just want to show you, just gonna pull up really quickly while we're thinking about it, just so you know where this is headed. The. There it is. The black outline here is the approximately 800 acres that would potentially be included. It actually goes all the way up into Clifton Crossing and really kind of covers a pretty substantial, this is our potential parking district. Gets all the way down to the marine zone, which again is, because we allow those common interest communities, is also one of our mixed use zones.
I think it's important to maintain as much control as we can over parking. I mean, even if you look at this coffee shop that we just approved this evening. If there are residences that are permanently taking up the spaces where these people
Right.
wanna come and be customers,
Mhm.
it's gonna be a negative to commercial development downtown.
And we need that development.
Yeah.
That's gonna help.
We need
Grand
the
list,
balance.
it's gonna be, yeah.
That's,
Mixed use.
yeah, Eddie was concerned about, Stevens. Where is that on? I can't make it out here. So.
On the corner of where Chips is, sir.
So that's in
One Chips, make a left,
Yeah.
in the first right there, that used to be a party bazaar there.
Yeah, right where the small 830G was approved, where we had the.
Right, I just have trouble
The one-way
seeing,
street, yeah.
Put the image.
Yeah, let's see if I can, sorry.
When you make that left at Chips off of Route 1, make the left. Chips will be on your left.
Yeah, trying to make it
Make that
bigger,
first left.
Right?
Are you, so Eddie, you're concerned with the parking and for resident, if they meet some of those residential?
Right about where my.
Yeah, so it's in the area.
Yeah, it's inside, Eddie, so we would still have parking control.
Yeah, so we still have parking control. That's what I
Remember
want.
all right, because we were talking about that before, and I even went down there with a tape measure, measured. Nobody was taking into consideration snow or the or trash night when they put the barrels out, and we were talking about. They were even talking about diagonally parking the cars. Remember, Abby? We came up with that idea.
I think that was actually I think it was, might have been my first night, it was still a virtual meeting at that time, and I think you guys are already well on your way to reviewing the application, but they do have an approved special exception and site plan for that already. Other proposals, if this were in place, would have to, certainly comply with parking, but those parking spaces were done in compliance with the regulations that the commission had at the time.
Okay, and so What else do we need to know about what's going on with this?
So I think right now, that's kind of it. We're at the stage right now. So if folks need me to resend any of the red lines, especially, I mean, I had sort of a running commentary going on section 30, and then I stopped when the consultants got involved. And so I want to make sure that if there's anything folks see that needs to
If you
change.
can send it to me again, please.
Yeah, we'll resend the whole package to everybody, so
Thank
we'll make
you.
sure that happens. You know, I think it's, if there's any particular standard that you think is important for the commission, for the consultants to consider, and remember that it will go across sort of the board, so any, you know, we'll be looking at under the, you know, the context of uniformity and how it fits into each district and all that kind of stuff, since we're not necessarily talking about changing our individual zone districts right now, but adding uses into the zone districts, because we're trying to do the most easy to manage amendment to be able to do it quickly. When we come back and revise the entire regulations, if we find that there are changes that need to be made, we can do that.
One thing that didn't come up tonight that I do think needs to be in there is that, and I think we're allowed to do this, is that for any multifamily from 2 to 16, require that at least 20% be affordable.
Oh, yes, sorry, that is an important piece here.
But-
So
Yep.
you have the ability, you have the ability, and it would be a sort of overarching standard in the regulations relative to affordability, that you essentially define a mandatory percentage of affordability that comes in for any multifamily that qualifies under certain provisions, right? So I checked it with the town attorney as well. We have the ability, if you want to put an affordability component into this, you have it.
Because, I mean, the whole point of, was supposed to be to allow there to be more affordable housing, but it doesn't specifically address affordable housing anywhere. So I would like our regulations to do that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
What if we use it to make them put towards that 10%? What if we did, I mean, you know, 830G is a standard of 30%.
There,
but
that's what I was
what if we
saying.
did 50.
My concern is that if we get up too high, the courts are gonna say, we're just being prohibitive.
So what about-
20%
what about
is a-
if we chose-
But if we did it, we met the 830G, I wouldn't be upset with that.
Right, well, I mean, then we have more say in what they can kind of,
Right.
build kind of what we want.
So,
I definitely think it should be more than 20. When Abby had said this at the meeting, I was like, that's amazing, because unless we really ask for something as a town, like if we know that this is an issue, which we know it's an issue, we have to be the advocates and use this new law to the benefit of the people who live here or would live here.
Or, you know, even if you're not looking for the benefit of the people, to not get abused by developers.
Right.
I mean, it works both ways, you know?
Or else everything is just gonna be market rate, and we already know that that's not affordable.
Right.
So I definitely think we should at least, at the very minimum, ask for 30%, 35%.
Can we say income standards on that?
No,
No.
I would keep it, so, you know, it would be difficult, I think, to provide standards that are different from how the legislation reads relative to affordability, because the calculations for that are already in place, and the funding
Right.
mechanisms that people may use to go after money to
So in
build
other
these
words,
units
we
should be
should,
consistent.
we should make it that it's consistent with the, equivalent to the standards for the 830G.
I mean.
Exactly.
Then all the rules are already in place and we've just referred to
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, go ahead, Dylan.
I think the biggest thing is what was that number that they were sharing? Like $126,000 was
Right.
the median income for affordable housing.
For state.
And there's a lot of people that make a lot less than that are getting ruled out of housing, like. Maybe we do a lower percentage, but it's gotta be more in tune with people's actual income.
I don't think we wanna go a lower percentage.
No, but I'm saying 30-20%, but at 50% of that median income value, because we just changed that zone across from Java where it was residential and commercial, now it's strictly commercial, and those people really don't have anywhere to go. And like,
Correct.
not that it's a developer's problem and everything, but it is something we do have to take into account, like.
Because we don't want a
what are the
homeless
alternatives?
population, and that's
Something
a
that,
displacement issue.
Right,
Why don't we go, we could also, you know, keep the percentage at 30%, but but lower the standard as far as affordability goes to 50%. I don't think that we
So we can do that?
get too much of a challenge there.
I think we should.
Yeah, or a common tool that folks use rather than trying to mandate and prescribe that, because you're starting to get into a point where it also becomes prohibitive to develop in these smaller unit developments. It becomes cost prohibitive at a certain point in order, if you've got 4 units coming in, you've got to figure out how it's gonna pay for it. I mean, there's an economic component to this.
Sure.
You could, and we could work with the consultants to see if it's support they can give us on, density bonuses or other, sort of carrots to go lower. That might be something as well. A lot of this would be septic driven.
Okay,
you know.
sorry, alright, I mean, so we, when doing the plan of conservation development, we had a lot of issues with the off-kilterness of the population base here in Clinton. If we change design from like, 1 bedroom units or something that, I get it, those are gonna get better rewards or whatever, but if we're trying to get younger people in town, we've gotta have a model that's more affordable that they can still live on their own with. What if we did like a higher density of smaller units, like studios and stuff, for people trying to get there? That would be a big benefit because you've got a younger population that's not gonna cook, they're gonna support restaurants downtown. They're not gonna have to drive all that much. It could provide the foot traffic that everybody's desperate for in our Main Street corridor. That could really lead to some change.
So I think, yeah, no, I don't disagree. I'm trying to find the best mechanism in order to make that happen and still be a tool that will pass the sniff test for developability and funding potential for folks. That's
I
gonna be
think
the.
I think the key is that the commission appears to be in agreement with the principle that we're trying to achieve here. But I don't think we're gonna come up with the right formula tonight.
Not on the fly. I think, so there's 2 things. I'll go back and I'll talk to the consultants as well, and I'll run some numbers myself, and then also chat with the town attorney about, what may be perceived to be consistent with state policy and maybe just a little more, right? Versus something that would be prohibitive. And if we were challenged, would be challenged on its face of being, having the opposite effect, no one building the houses.
Right, we made it too much, we're gonna get challenged and those that are.
Yeah, but you set those thresholds too high. I mean, fundamentally, folks aren't gonna build it. I mean, if we want it to be built, it's gotta be something that can be funded.
But I think that I don't know how good way to propose this is that you have mandated this because you're saying there's a need for affordable housing. We are trying to provide that affordable housing, but now you're saying, in essence, this law doesn't actually provide affordable housing. It's like, it's talking out of both sides of their mouth. I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. I am a strong, full believer that we need affordable housing for people, not only young people to come into town, but for our retirees, people on Social Security, to be able to downsize. Like, it does not make sense for a lot of people to downsize right now because they're moving into housing that is like a $3,000 rent when they have, I don't know, $1,400 mortgage. So I think we need to push back on this as a town as strongly as we possibly can in any way that we can to actually make this bill what it was intended to be.
I think along with Dylan's suggestion or idea, that perhaps we mandate the size of these units as a way of doing that, because as we all know, if a developer can't make money on it, they're not gonna do it.
Right.
But
Here, that's what I was looking at, Bo. That's,
yeah,
you can't make it cost prohibitive for the company.
but
to come in
having
here.
a unit with, instead of 2 bedroom apartments, have several studios. That's something the developer can do at a reasonable cost and also provide an affordable option for younger people or even older people.
We do soft kitchenettes.
And I think there's some language in the legislation and there's some pieces relative to size and unit type that we may be restricted on too much of that language. So let me go through and reread and make sure that there's not a conflict in the way that this is written, and whether or not we have the ability to prescribe in that way. Because I know there's certain sections of our regulations now that do prescribe like minimum unit sizes and that kind of stuff that actually have to come out.
Right.
So
At the end of the day, we're trying to play the hand of the cards that were dealt, and they're telling us it doesn't work. We know, we have a straight, we put together a straight, and they're saying, oh no, that's a count or something. We're trying to play within the rules, but the rules are so restricted that maybe we push back or something.
So we're thinking 30% of the 30% we set aside, what you're saying, Dylan, is to make that a specific, like 50% of what the state standard is
Yeah.
for, okay.
Yeah.
So that within that 30%, then another kind of
Okay.
amendment or sub.
Mhm.
Yeah, look, see what they think they can do for us.
Yeah. We'll see, isn't it, what my message back is going to be, they want you are looking for the highest percentage of affordability and deepest affordability that is reasonable and will not preclude units from being built at all.
Okay,
All right, great, looking for that.
That's it,
Yeah.
looking for that sweet spot.
that's what I meant to say.
Okay. But I hadn't heard that, and I just wanted to make sure we
Yeah, no, there's a-
brought it up, okay.
Can
Anything
I,
else?
can I s-
Go ahead, Mike.
this whole thing just kind of like blows my mind a little bit. Like, why don't they work on trying to lower the cost of living so people can live here? I mean, Connecticut is like one of the 10th highest states in the country to live in. I mean, by doing all of this, I mean, affordable housing and stuff, you still got to live here. It just, to me, I don't know. Just frustrating.
I kind of agree with Mike that I don't disagree with taking these steps because these are steps that we can control as a zoning commission. But I think our efforts are somewhat in vain in a large portion because there's other deals in the state that make it unaffordable, not just housing, that they actually make the housing unaffordable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That's the thing too. If we put in this effort and try to create this example and it fails, then that's a bigger reflection on the state to go back and say, hey, you guys need to shake it up a little bit. You know, I mean, not that we want to be the epicenter of failure of affordable housing, but still, like, it sends a big message. Or
So we
something.
do that, Chuck.
Yeah, I think we do have to try and do what we can, but I feel that our efforts might be in vain in the end, because there's other economic factors. I mean, we could have, a developer's not gonna put up a building that they can't make money on. That's the bottom line.
Right.
That's the bottom line. Yep, bottom line. They're not gonna do it.
We can do our part and try to promote it, but,
But that's it, I mean, that's our.
that's
That's
our.
our requirement.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to move on to correspondence and bills. We have a letter from, the people at 151, 153 Main Street. They, want to modify the location of their mixed-use building. Basically, they've got the two buildings, one we allowed to be mixed use and the other not. They'd like to switch the two.
So the two that, if you're looking at development on the left, are the two that they want to be mixed use, is that correct?
I think it's actually on the right, it's the closest to the road.
That's the old building.
Yeah, no, I think the old,
Opposite side of the
I think it's the
driveway.
opposite side of the driveway.
I don't think they poured the foundations there yet.
Okay, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
So what happened was, so the way it's set up right now is the unit that is directly next to the driveway would be the residential, and the commercial one would be the next one in
Okay,
along the street. And what they want to do is have the commercial one be directly adjacent to the driveway, so folks aren't, number one, driving past, but number two, the parking is a little bit easier to configure and then that kind of stuff. So they would still have that commercial space on the first floor. It would just be right when you first turn in, not sort of going around the back and into the next unit.
I mean, as long as we have the commercial space and as long as it has frontage, I think it makes it a better option, first of all, for the commercial part. And it meets the goal, if you will, or the requirements that we set forth in the original agreement, so I don't have any objection to. swapping that building.
That was my opinion too. I think, and we can have this be, something that we just do have,
Administrative approval?
have the CEO do it as, administrative approval.
Yeah, I think it would be good, on this one, it would be good just to have a vote that you're authorizing the CEO to approve the change as proposed. And then that would just give her that coverage that she needs, since you have that special exception approval.
I'm prepared to make that motion.
Does it, Maybe I missed it. Does it change the size, by changing the units, does it change the size of the commercial space at all? No, it's exactly identical.
So they would have to
square footage.
maintain the exact square footage they had before.
Okay, and it's still in alignment with P O C D and the, you said frontage and everything is still there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
This is the same project that has been coming back up several
Many
times.
times.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was
Yeah.
there.
We're
You got the
trying,
right one.
which is why.
which we had denied before
Yeah.
because they wanted to make it completely residential and we were like, nope, that doesn't align with what, okay.
They're just gonna do
Right.
All right, make sure.
Okay. So, can I have a motion to empower?
I moved to swap 3 and 4 designations.
Well, we're gonna motion to
Empower,
empower Kathy to make
Kathy to
that
do it.
approval.
By CEO, administrative decree.
I'll second that.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor,
I,
Aye.
opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries, thank you. Amazingly, it's 8:05 and we're, to adjournment. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
I'll second that.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Question for you.
Yeah.
Probably weird.